So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the last in the three-part series where we go live from the Hasta Shilpa Heritage Village in Manipal. Again, to refresh, I've been here since Friday, and I've been doing, well, Thursday, and I've been doing a re-curation of the Ravi Varma Press Museum. When the Ravi Varma Press had wound up, Mr. Vijayanath Shenoy, the person who established the Hasta Shilpa Heritage Village, brought into this museum the remnants from the Ravi Varma Press. It's gone on to become one of the singular archives in relation to the functioning of the Ravi Varma Press and the various prints, process proofs, and the lithograph stones associated with the press. Yesterday, I showed you some of the things which we discovered as we were going about doing a fact finding for the curation. And today, I thought I would do two things. One is to show you some other things which I discovered, simply because we found extraordinarily rare stuff. And then we're going to walk down to the actual room in which we are going to do the re-curation. I'm going to start by showing you some of the letterheads from the Ravi Varma Press, which we have here. And it also, interestingly, seems to have had a telephone saying Carla 28. This is one of the rare finds. The other thing which I wanted to show you is the school atlas. It is published by the Allied Publishers Private Limited. But then when you open it up, you realize that there is within it the copy of a government order. And this was the sanction which was granted to Allied Publishers. And it said that when you are printing the atlas, you have to mention an acknowledgement on the cover, which said reproduced from the Survey of India. And there you find the very same statement. And if you turn it over, you see that it was printed at the Ravi Varma Fine Art Lithographic Press at Malavli. This has been a discovery. I found it only today, where I discovered that this school atlas, probably one which even I may have had when I was in school, was actually printed at the Ravi Varma Press. I'm going to show you another book, and this incongruous book is a treasure trove of correspondence. I'm very gingerly opening it up for you. And what it has are, this is a copybook. And it very faintly has a carbon copy of letters which was written by Fritz Leicher to Mehendel. Mehendel was his manager. And if you turn it around very, very carefully, you can see him sign his name, Fritz. I have scanned this entire book, and pages of it are found in the second volume of my book series, where he makes very many observations. He says, ensure that the servants are polishing the brass and that it looks as good as new. He also has a major instruction in relation to his son, Willie. He says, I don't think we should be giving him any money because he's driving his car very rashly. And then he also says, I actually have great plans for my son. I want him to start a beer business. But if he's going to behave this badly, then I don't think I'm going to invest that kind of money in my son. And all of this you find in this wonderful book, which then speaks of the mindset of Fritz Leicher, the owner of the press. Going back into another document associated with the mindset of Fritz Leicher is this one. And this seems to be a copy of a court document. In the High Court of Judicature at Bombay, as you can see, the plaintiff is Fritz Leicher, and it is a record of costs which he has incurred in the conduct of a particular litigation. So there you have it, another insight into the mindset of Fritz Leicher. Clearly a very litigious man, very active, a fighter, and it is this fighting spirit which actually makes Fritz Leicher bring about the Ravi Varma Press to a great financial success. I wanted to also share with you another book which you see here, and this is the ledger book, and it has a whole bunch of notations including their accounts with Ananta Shivaji Desai. And if you turn the pages, you realize all the various amounts which they have paid or they are due from the various agents, including the one and only Ananta Shivaji Desai, which runs into several pages. Clearly, the press had a lot of business with the agent Ananta Shivaji Desai. So this is another insight into how the press was functioning. This document, and I'm going to carry it very carefully, is a fire insurance policy. For all of y'all who have followed the Ravi Varma Press, you will know that in the 1970s, it is said that the Ravi Varma Press was destroyed by a fire. And from 1970s to the 1980s, it functioned very gingerly. It didn't. But Fritz Leicher, when he purchased from C. Rajaraja Varma, one of the first things he did was to actually get a fire insurance policy for a very grand sum of 10,000 rupees. And if you turn it over very carefully, you realize that he actually availed of it in Bombay as early as on the 1st of June 1901. Of course, it went into effect sometime later. It is sort of it is odd that Fritz Leicher really understood the risks associated with running a press, and one of the things which he does is to get a fire insurance policy. This was clearly not emulated by the children, because finally in the 1970s, Fritz Leicher died in 1935. By the 1970s, the press actually gets destroyed by a fire, which Fritz Leicher knew was possibly going to happen. I'm also going to show you this, which is 3 daily report books. January 1965, January 1970, etc. The wonderful thing about these books is that if you open it up, you know what kind of work the press did on every single day of January 1975. Clearly, it was a very busy press. They were doing quite a lot of things on every single day. And I think it is this activity of the press which sort of makes it a very solid business enterprise. I'm going to show you these. This is something which you don't get to see, are playing card, the boxes which have been printed. These feature in the second volume of the book series. I also wanted to show you some of the sample books which the Ravi Varma Press printed for Amar Chitrakatha, and this is a folded progress proof for the pages of Amar Chitrakatha. They actually open up into a number of pages. I don't want to do that now because they are very fragile, but I'm just showing you that this is what the Ravi Varma Press was doing as it went about printing books for the comic books of Amar Chitrakatha. My dear friend Carleen McLean actually calls them India's immortal comics, and they continue to remain very important to the comic book scene in India. I want to show you this book. This again, plain cover, holds a treasure inside. We have, I'm going to show you this very carefully, a whole bunch of match labels. But then as you turn the pages, you realize it is a veritable treasure trove of textile labels. Textile labels of all kinds of textile mills, largely from Bombay, many of which, almost all of which don't function today. But I think this is worth studying, because if we look at it, I'm sure it's a fantastic pictorial history of printing presses in Bombay. So some of them are really nice. The Karimboy mills, many of these do feature in volume 2. I love Karimboy Ibrahim. He also has it written in Mandarin over there. So isn't it wonderful that at some point of time in India, India was manufacturing stuff for the Chinese, which today China is manufacturing stuff for the entire world. So here you have it, a time when India was on top. There we go, some more of them. Let me turn a few more pages. I'm sure you want to see these. Look at that. The Arab with the camel, this beautiful horse, a giraffe, the giraffe chop. This beautiful one with the cow. And so that is one hell of a treasure which we have there. And then the last in the series is Time Out in Bombay, also features in volume 2. And this, interestingly, turns out to be the last reference to the Ravi Varma Press. If you can zoom in there, you will say, published by Robert Peter Philip Sando, where is that? Oh, okay. The Ravi Varma Press. So, interesting way to sort of conclude this section of it, but I do have more for you. What I want to do is to take you from here, and we're going to do a small little walk as we go into the very room where we are going to create the museum. With me is Harish Pai, one of the trustees of the Hasta Shilpa Heritage Village, who is going to take us from here there. I'm back. Isn't it nice to be led by some very melodious music? So we are walking down the road, as you can see, towards the museum, the Ravi Varma Museum, where we are finally going to store everything. With me is Harish. So it's lovely to have you again with us, Harish.
Thanks.
You missed us on yesterday's reel. So it's lovely. Tell us about.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
How different was it to curate our collection and curate the Sri Chitra Art Gallery, which you had done a couple of years ago?
I think it's. That's a very interesting question. In the Sri Chitra Art Gallery, we were largely looking at the finished works, the paintings, and there were very few articles like sketches which indicated the process of making it. But when I'm looking at the collection which we have here, most of it is stuff which is the process. And there's not very little, there is quite a lot of material associated with the final works as well. But here, I think the focus will be on the process rather than the final works. Sri Chitra Art Gallery, the focus is more on the final works than the process. So the challenge for me as I'm curating this museum is to tell people that the lithostones actually lead to final prints. So the concentration over here is going to be to make it narrative and not just isolate the objects. For instance, we're looking at the lithostones here. It would be lovely if we can actually, next to it, show you the final print from which the lithostone generates. That way, I think it would be more interesting to the common viewer. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the room in which we are going to do the final display. We're going to show you the entire room as it is now. So maybe we can do a turnaround. And what you're seeing now are only the lithograph stones. The rest of the material was removed just before COVID and was stored in a facility where, it was stored during COVID. We didn't know how moisture was going to affect it. And have here are only the litho stones and the machines on the floor. By the time we re-curate this entire space, as I was just telling Harish, we are going to have not only the litho stones, we are going to try and show you the progressive prints, and we are also going to show you the final works. So in this way, we are, I hope we're successful in giving you a better understanding of how the Ravi Varma Press functioned and the various archival material which is in the collection of the Hasta Shilpa Heritage Village. So, ladies and gentlemen, one more look around the room as it is now, because the next time we come back here, in all probability, we would have completed curating this museum.